Read between the lines, what's fucked up and everything's alright. Check my vital signs and now I'm still alive and I walk alone. Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Huge Green Day fan. Hello everyone and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about why voice is and isn't important to me. So in the earliest days of my transition, when I was spending, just countless hours just conducting research and whatnot, I found in my findings one of the very key, variables in the process was voice. For many trans women, voice can either make or break one's ability to pass, and for others, it's simply just about easing the dysphoria. Unsurprisingly, this is another area where I kind of find myself in the gray area because it both is and isn't important to me. On one hand, yes, it is nice to be able to have that sort of that ability, privilege or whatever to be able to pass when conversing and talking with new people that don't know me, and just kind of automatically just having that perception of me of who I see myself as, who I want to be. But at the same time, also kind of easing that dysphoria because I don't like the way I naturally sound. But strangely enough, I've never really liked the way I naturally sound, even before transitioning. I've never been fond of my natural sounding guy voice. Anytime that I would, record video or anything, I dreaded the moment having to go back and watch and listen to any of that stuff because I just never liked the way that I naturally sound, and I still really don't. So when coming up with a voice initially, I took it very seriously. I was very over the top about it because I just got this perception in my mind that I need to go, that this is one area among many others that I needed to go all out with this. I needed to be able to present myself as best I could in all these areas, regardless of the limitations. And that didn't exactly go that well. I ended up just doing this very over the top sounding voice that just put a fucking strain on me and just made it impossible to talk for long periods of time. And it was just, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But then there just came a point when I just kind of sat back and thought about it, and I was like, why the hell am I doing this? Why the hell am I going above and beyond to sound this way? Am I doing this for me, or am I doing this because this is what people would expect from me? And then I realized it was the latter. See, for me, voice is again a subjective thing. If you think about it, people all over the world have different sounding voices regardless of their gender. It's like I have met and known a bunch of different men with feminine sounding voices, and I've known and met a lot of women with masculine, boyish sounding voices. Voice is just a variable that just, I guess, is just part of a person, but it's not that big of a deal. So kind of getting that in mind for me in coming up with a voice, I just ultimately settled on, you know what, instead of doing this over the top, putting like 110 to 200% effort into this over the top voice that would sound convincing and believable, but would put an immense strain on my vocal cords and my ability to actually speak coherently or just speak at all, I ultimately settled on just speaking a lot more softer and lighter, as I'm presently doing right now to the best of my ability. And notice that I could be content with that. I mean, for crying out loud, I'm a transgender androgynous tomboy. Sounding ambiguously boyish is not only fitting, but it's also what I'm comfortable with. It's very much what I'm comfortable with. Because voice is also just kind of a reflection of a variable of the individual, if that makes sense. It's kind of just an aspect that kind of defines you, if that also makes sense. So for me, much like my outlook, how I sound also is kind of a reflection of how I want it. It's also just kind of a reflection of how I choose to present myself. Like feminine, it's like feminine looking, but also kind of boyish, feminine, boyish in outlook and attitude. So if speaking lighter and softer, makes a whole lot more sense. It's also just very comfortable for me. I don't need to go above and beyond to do this over the top voice just to pass by some standards that others would perhaps expect from me, when it's just like, hey, this is what I'm comfortable with. This is how I'm perfectly fine with how. This is what I'm comfortable with, and honestly, I still deep down don't like listening to the sound of my own voice, but this way, I'm just comfortable. I'm just comfortable this way. I mean, I still don't do it. I'm still not the best at doing it consistently, whether right now or any time during the day. I mean, even when I wake up in the morning, I have to drink like a glass or two of water just to be able to get my voice to sound less raspy, and to be able to just do, and to be able to kind of sound, and to even, you know, come close to sounding like this, because like I'm usually a messy train wreck when I wake up in the morning. I do not look or sound great when I wake up. It's disastrous. But it's still kind of a struggle for me to do it even consistently outside of that, whether I'm talking on the phone or just talking to people in general, or even just kind of talking to myself, because it's a process. It's a learning curve. It's a process. It takes time for it to kind of become the default setting, but it's what I'm striving for. It's what I'm striving for. This is how I want to sound. This is how I'm perfectly comfortable, you know, presenting myself with, if I'm making any sense at all. Because ultimately, it's all about the self-expression. It's all about meeting. It's all about how comfortable about your comfortability, about your standards and your preferences, and not about what other people want to set the bar as. It's ultimately about how you want to choose to express yourself and how you want your outlook to be. And for me, how I sound right now, for the most part, is what I'm comfortable with. It's what I'm confident and comfortable with doing, and hopefully with time it gets better, but I just gotta take it one day at a time. So when working on your voice, keep this in mind. Is the way that you're sounding, is the voice that you're working on, and the way that you want to present yourself, are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it because you think it's what society expects from you? Keep that in mind. Think about that. Anyway, that is the video. This is actually something that I would actually like to hear some thoughts about, so feel free to drop those in the comments, and perhaps let's have a discussion about this. But anyway, that is all I have for now. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.